Okay, so lesson 1-4, I'm going to pick up and do some of the problems we missed yesterday. And one of the problems I skipped over yesterday was this word problem, right? And from what I've seen, the word problem turned out to be kind of important, didn't it? Okay, you've got something like it. So let's go over this word problem. And hopefully then when you have some work time here later in the period, it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, first step in a word problem. Anyone know it? Read it. You can't hit skip if you haven't done the first step. You've got to at least try the first step. So, flower carpets in shape. If the length of the carpet is 3 times the width, what are the dimensions? Okay, guys. I don't know about you, but what about that first sentence?
Doesn't matter.
Useless, isn't it? That first sentence is just all describing flower carpets. But do I have to know what a flower carpet is to do this problem? No. I don't have to know anything about it. So, as we look at this, a flower carpet has a perimeter of 300 meters and is rectangular in shape. Well, I'm all about pictures to help us understand. So, rectangular in shape means I'm just drawing a rectangle. There we go. There is my flower carpet. Sorry, you're not going to get anything fancy from me. We were told the perimeter is 300 meters. So that's just me writing down the perimeter so I have it, so I don't forget it. Now, continuing along, if the length of the carpet is 3 times the width, what are the dimensions? So notice it says the length is 3 times the width. Then we're being asked to find the dimensions. Okay. When we look at a rectangle, what do you think about of a rectangle? There's 4 sides, and what do we call them? Length and width. Okay. Now, here's the deal. We normally use what for length and what for width?
L and W.
Yeah, we usually say W is width and L is length. However, if we set up an equation using L and W, we have 2 variables, and that makes it harder to solve. So, go back right here. What does it say? The length of the carpet is 3 times the width. So what's that mean? Length is, so I'm going to say length equals what? 3 times the width, so 3W. That means instead of using L for length, what am I going to use instead of L for length? I'm going to use 3W as the length. So we can still use W for width, but instead of using L for length, we're going to use 3W. Now, I will say the ones in homework are a little trickier. Like I helped someone this morning, it was 7 minus triple the something. Like 7 fewer than triple the width. So we had to do 3W minus 7. Okay, and I can help you guys with those. But here's the idea. We have widths of W, lengths of 3W. So how do I, Kamara?
We'll simplify, but it would start as 3W plus 3W plus W plus W.
Equals?
300.
300, yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I would start with. The idea that, what's perimeter mean? It means you add up all the sides, right? And so I am perfectly fine with Kamara saying 3W plus 3W plus W plus W, and it equals 300. Okay, maybe yours went in a different order. I had someone this morning said, well, I did 2 times the quantity 3W plus W. That works. You could do 2 times 3W plus 2 times W. It all works out the same. Okay, because now we're going to clean this up. What is 3W plus 3W plus W plus W? 8W. So then I have the equation 8W equals 300. If 8W equals 300, I hear some calculators coming out. That's a good thing. What is W?
37.5.
Okay. W is 37.5. 37.5 what? Meters. Okay. And Gabe, what you said would be an equivalent fraction, but you would want to go a decimal mode on decimal on this one. So make sure you know how to use the calculator to change it to a decimal, which I can guarantee the calculator does it. I don't know how necessarily, depending on what calculator, but
It's ages.
which means it's probably a Casio, and I don't know. Yeah, I struggle with Casios, but we can get it figured out later. So. Well, as you guys will learn, I'm definitely more of a Texas Instruments type calculator person, but doesn't mean I won't help and figure out the Casio if I have to. I'm just takes me longer. Am I done with this problem? No, because it said, what are the dimensions? Does this carpet only have one dimension? No, it should at least have a second dimension, right? If the width is 37.5, how do I find the length? John? Okay. Right here, guys, what did it say? The length is 3 times the width, right? Isn't that what it said earlier?
Yep.
So if the length is 3 times the width, don't we know the width? Yeah, that's your easiest way. 3 times 37.5. And 3 times 37.5 is 112.5. And that's also going to be meters. Okay. So that give you at least some idea where to start on the one in homework if you haven't done that one now. Okay, that's the goal there. You have some idea where to start. And I can still help during work time if you need it. Okay, the next section. I very, very, very quickly at the end of class went through 4A, didn't I? I mean, it was a whirlwind. But the idea was you work it out, and we found that 4 equals 5, which is never true. My morning class said you had one of these in homework. Does that sound about right? Yeah. Morning class didn't seem to indicate they had many problems with it. Just to kind of review real quick, let's do 4B here, and then we'll go to the back side. So if I want to know, is this equation always, sometimes, or never true? What do we start off doing? We need to start like we're solving it, yes? So if we clean up the left here, what about 6x plus 5 minus 2x? What about on the right? 4, 4x, and 1? 4 and 1 can add, and you have?
5.
Yeah, so 4x plus 5. Some of you may look at that and be like, oh, I can tell what's going to happen. I know. That's perfectly fine. If you're not sure, act like you're going to keep solving it, yes? How do I get my x's together on one side? If it's a positive 4x, I'm going to subtract 4x. X minus 4x cancels, and I have 5 equals 5. Well, what do you know about 5 equals 5?
That's always.
Yeah, that's a true statement. And so this problem is always true. So yesterday the example was 4 does not equal 5, so we said never true. Today the example is 5 equals 5, so it's always true. How do we know something is sometimes true?
If you get an X or a variable.
Doesn't sound like it's been a big deal to people, but okay. Let's go to the back two. Okay. I definitely heard some concerns about these type of problems. So I'll help you with some and then maybe help you in homework if necessary. Officially, they use the terminology a literal equation. And they say a literal equation is one in which there are two or more variables. And any variable we can use to write the term equation in terms of. A lot of times, like we think are formulas. You know, there's just going to have a variable in it. So as we look at problem 5, the equation C equals 5/9 times F minus 32 relates temperature in degrees Fahrenheit F and degrees Celsius C. So they give us the equation and they say, what is F in terms of C? So look at that terminology here. What is F in terms of C? Do you understand what they're asking? What do they want us to solve for? If this says, what is F in terms of C? We're being asked to solve, well, for F. Which when I say, messed up the star, seriously? When I say solve for F, that means our answer is going to be F equals. In terms of C means, okay, there's going to be a C within that answer. Okay, so my job is to solve for F. So let me write this equation down. C equals 5/9. Thoughts on what to do on this one? There's two different ways we could go, depending on what we see. I think there's one way I definitely want to take you guys, but thoughts? Lily?
Would you distribute the 5/9 into the parentheses?
Okay. One option, and I'm going with probably the more obvious option, but I'm not sure it's the way I want to go, would be to distribute. 5/9 times F minus 32. Now, here's my problem with distributing that. 5/9 times 32, it's still going to be a fraction. It's not going to be a nice neat number that cancels out or anything. Now, that doesn't make it wrong to go that way. I just feel like it's going to mean more fractions and more work. So, an alternative. How can I move 5/9 to the other side? Not subtract it. It's not being added. Okay. If we divide by 5/9, what's equivalent to dividing by a fraction? Because we're going to kind of divide by 5/9, but I'm not going to use that. Multiply by the reciprocal? Okay. It may not be your favorite option to go, but it's the easiest option. Okay. So in order to move that fraction, since it's multiplied by 5/9, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 5/9, which is 9/5. If I multiply one side by 9/5, we multiply the other side by 9/5. Now, what is 9/5 times C?
9/5 C.
Good answer. 9/5 C. What about 9 over 5 times 5 over 9? 9 cancels with 9, 5 cancels with 5, and what remains? Okay. F minus 32? Okay, now this problem should be looking easier. I want F by itself. So since it's F minus 32, I'm going to add 32. So, you guys handle if I go ahead and flip-flop my equation as I write my answer? F ends up by itself. F equals 9/5 C plus 32. And that is solved for F in terms of C, which they asked for F in terms of C, so we solve for F in terms of C. When you're solving these equations, guys, the steps are the same as when you solve any other type of equation. I know for whatever reason, you guys see those other letters and you just get halted in your steps, but I promise you that the same steps you already know how to use. Okay. Next equation. Okay, this one's pretty easy in comparison. The equation K equals C plus 273 is used to relate temperatures in kelvins, which is K, and degrees Celsius, C. What is C in terms of K? So what are they asking me to do here? What is C in terms of K? We're being asked to solve for C. Now, my equation, K equals C plus 273. Whoops. Zoomed out a little bit too far. But you don't have to even worry about what Kelvin means at this point. Right. It's just a letter.
Isn't zero like non-existent?
Something like that.
There's no absolute.
Okay. How do I solve for C? If it's C plus 273, to move the plus 273, we're going to, if I subtract 273 on one side, subtract it on the other. So, 273's cancel, and we end up with C equals K minus 273. So that's a little bit easier one. But it still goes to show the steps are the same as what you already know. Okay? Okay, guys. You have some work time, right? Work time, questions, anything to do tonight. For me, that is. Okay? So work to get that finished. And I can help come around and answer questions as necessary.